G'day guys and welcome back to episode of our Kart Class Podcast. Today we're going to be discussing mental toughness in young drivers and how parents can shape what their kids are feeling. When I was a young kid growing up through karting, my dad just taught my cousin James and myself how to drive, and he was our coach. So basically, listening to Dad when it came to the words he would use was, interesting sometimes. He was pretty straightforward, but he sort of said it in a way that if you want to go to the track and have fun, then, by all means, let's just go and have some fun. Let's just cruise around at the speed that we feel comfortable at, make some friends, just basically enjoy it as a hobby. But obviously, if we wanted to be competitive, then he was trying to coach me in a way that it was more serious. It was like, you got to listen to what I'm trying to say, because if you're not going to listen and you're not going to improve, then you're not going to win. And ultimately, if that's what you're there to do and to want to do, then we need to basically do things a certain way to achieve that. So, many people that, around sort of 25 to 30 years ago when my dad was, coaching myself and James, they'd probably fondly remember how Dad would coach. He'd be like, "What are you doing out there? And you're driving like crap." Things that it was passion that was talking. It wasn't so much, it was frustration because, he was passionate and he was wanting to see his son do really well on the track. So he probably, didn't know how to actually, sort of coach people. It was just that passion that coming out, that European background, a little bit of a fire in his belly. So nowadays, I tended to, we see with a lot of kids that they get the most out of more level-headed coaching. We see some coaches that are yelling and abusing drivers that actually aren't even their kids, which, by all means, it might work for some. That's not the temperament that I tend to use. It's more of a explanation, keep things level-headed. Whether you're winning or losing, you want to keep the enthusiasm inside. You want to be passionate, but also it's the negativity, that the shouting, it doesn't really go a long way. It's more of I sort of see it as more of a threatening tactic where you're trying to be the one in control of things rather than work on the same team as a lot of other people as well. So, parents are passionate with their kids, hence why we see more and more people now going towards coaches. So it's not them actually passing on that message to their son or daughter. It's a second person. It's another person to give their thoughts. And I tended to, really gel with my cousin James growing up, just more from being able to resonate with him a little bit more. But then, like I said, Dad's positivity was also massive, and his belief in me helped, shape the way I was, and really instilled a lot of confidence going to a lot of races that I potentially thought that, it wouldn't be possible to win, but he really backed me in. He really sort of sold me the dream that I was going to win. And I remember one race quite fondly where I was at the Ipswich Rotax Nationals in 2010, I believe, and I was going for my fourth consecutive Rotax title. So it was a class that I was really dominant in, but that weekend just wasn't going for us. It wasn't going very well. I think I qualified, maybe back in about 12th or 15th position. In the dry conditions, I was making my way further forward. I was, just say, for example, sitting around the 6th or 8th mark heading into Sunday. And as we woke up on Sunday morning, the heavens opened up and it just did not stop raining. And from that moment that we opened up the blinds at the hotel and we saw rain, Dad's like, "We've got it. We've won it today." He really backed me in the wet conditions. It was something that we spent a lot of time at the track. As a kid growing up, it was more about, making mistakes, pushing me to the absolute limit when it came to the wet, slick tires, really congratulating me when I spun out. It was more, you need to find the limit. You need to push yourself. Don't be afraid. We are actually here to support you. And all of these things, 15, 20 years later when I went to that race at Ipswich, it was more about that self-belief that he knew that we'd actually put in all the hard yards over the 15, 20 years leading up to that race. So we get to the track at Ipswich, and Dad's just smiling. He's literally walking on cloud nine, even though we haven't even had the pre-final yet. He's telling other people, whether it's the Arrow team that I was racing with, or just some of his mates, that I've already won the race. He's basically, almost showboating that, that's how much belief that he had in the wet conditions with myself. And lucky enough in the final, I think I went on to go and win by about 10 seconds and claim our fourth consecutive Rotax title. So sometimes, really having that key person, whether it's a parent, it's your coach, it's your support crew, it's what they resonate, it's what they're instilling in their kids, in their drivers, how that message is coming across. Where on the other hand, if you've got someone that's like, you can't drive in the wet. Oh, I hate these conditions for my kid. It's so bad. He's going to spin off. He can't drive. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what lines. Well, then, if you're hearing that as a driver, can you imagine going to the grid feeling good about yourself or feeling confident about, the upcoming race that you're going to have? Probably not. So it's seriously important about the messaging and just the chat before the race, whether it's to your kid or whether it's just the people that you're speaking to in the vicinity of your driver. That plays a massive part. Like I said, I've heard it both ways, from other people talking in the pits to how I've accidentally said some things to some kids, and I'm like, I sort of explained it in a way that didn't quite actually work for them. They were so literal with how they listen and how they take things on board that if I had explained it a different way, the outcome may have been different as well. So just think about how your messaging is to your son or daughter, to the drivers that you're coaching, and also just the temperament that you are trying to portray in the pit area. I think it goes a long way to building that kid's confidence and that trust with you, so that ultimately you're going well on track. And basically, it's really important that, like I said, we have that confidence, that self-belief, but it comes from the effort that you've put in before that day. So like I said, yeah, I've won a lot of races in the wet conditions, but that was from a lot of practice days, a lot of spinning out, a lot of cleaning the karts, a lot of tears as well from being cold, sitting in the gravel. My dad gave me a couple of sprays about, why I've spun off, because, I've probably done something, whether it's locking up the brakes or it's the wrong line or it's going too fast. But ultimately, the reason for that success was from the encouragement of actually pushing and finding limits. And it was that real belief from my dad to go, we're in it together. You do get frustrated as a parent. I'll get frustrated with my 2 and 4-year-old kid at the same time as well. And I'm sort of sometimes expecting a little bit too much from those kids as well. So it's the passion that drives you, but it's also the delivery of message as well. So they're just a couple of tips on parents, coaches, support crew that helps a lot of these younger drivers out. Be confident, believe in the hard work and the testing that you've already put in, and just think about how the temperament and the messaging is coming across to your drivers. So I hope that's giving you guys some tips to, coach your son or daughter or your friends a little bit differently moving forward. And if you enjoyed these tips, please feel free to share the podcast across the new karting family so they can hopefully improve along the way too. Until next time, guys, I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you on the next podcast.